The Seven Dials Mystery, Chapter 20. Lorraine Wade sat up in bed and switched on the light. It was exactly 10 minutes to 1. She had gone to bed early, at 9:30. She possessed the useful ability to wake herself up at the required time, so she had been able to enjoy some hours of refreshing sleep. 2 dogs slept in the room with her, and one of them now raised his head and looked at her inquiringly. "Quiet, Lurcher," said Lorraine, and the big animal put his head down again obediently, watching her from between his shaggy eyelashes. It is true that Bundle had once doubted the calmness of Lorraine Wade, but that brief moment of suspicion had passed. Lorraine had seemed so entirely reasonable, so willing to be kept out of everything. And yet, if you studied the girl's face, you saw that there was determination in the small, resolute jaw and the lips that closed together so firmly. Lorraine rose and dressed herself in a tweed coat and skirt. Into one pocket of the coat, she dropped an electric torch. Then she opened the drawer of her dressing table and took out a small ivory-handled pistol. It looked almost like a toy. She had bought it the day before at Harrod's, and she was very pleased with it. She gave a final glance round the room to see if she had forgotten anything, and at that moment the big dog rose and came over to her, looking up at her with pleading eyes and wagging its tail. "No, Lurcher, can't go. I can't take you. You've got to stay here and be a good boy." She dropped a kiss on the dog's head, made him lie down on his rug again, and then slipped noiselessly out of the room, closing the door behind her. She let herself out of the house by a side door and made her way around to the garage, where her little 2-seater car was ready. There was a gentle slope, and she let the car run silently down it, not starting the engine until she was some way from the house. Then she glanced at the watch on her arm and pressed her foot down on the accelerator. She left the car at a spot she had previously marked. There was a gap there in the fencing that she could easily get through. A few minutes later, slightly muddy, Lorraine stood inside the grounds of Wyvern Abbey. As noiselessly as possible, she made her way towards the old ivy-covered building. In the distance, a stable clock chimed 2. Lorraine's heart beat faster as she drew near the terrace. There was no one about, no sign of life anywhere. Everything seemed peaceful and undisturbed. She reached the terrace and stood there, looking about her. Suddenly, without warning, something from above fell with a flop almost at her feet. Lorraine stooped to pick it up. It was a brown paper packet, loosely wrapped. Holding it, Lorraine looked up. There was an open window just above her head, and even as she looked, a leg swung over it, and a man began to climb down the ivy. Lorraine waited no more. She turned and ran, still holding the brown paper packet. Behind her, the noise of a struggle suddenly broke out. A hoarse voice, "Let me go." Another that she knew well, "Not if I know it. Ah, you would you?" Still Lorraine ran, blindly, as if in a panic, right around the corner of the terrace and straight into the arms of a large, solidly built man. There," said Superintendent Battle kindly. Lorraine was struggling to speak. Oh, quick! They're killing each other! Oh, do be quick!" There was a sharp crack of a revolver shot, and then another. Superintendent Battle started to run. Lorraine followed. Back around the corner of the terrace and along to the library window. The window was open. Battle stooped and switched on an electric torch. Lorraine was close behind him, peering over his shoulder. She gave a little sobbing gasp. On the threshold of the window lay Jimmy Thesiger in what looked like a pool of blood. His right arm lay dangling in a strange position. Lorraine gave a sharp cry. "He's dead," she wailed. "Oh, Jimmy, he's dead." Now, said Superintendent Battle soothingly. "Don't you worry so. The young gentleman isn't dead, I'll be bound. See if you can find the lights and turn them on." Lorraine obeyed. She stumbled across the room, found the switch by the door, and pressed it down. The room was flooded with light.
Superintendent Battle uttered a sigh of relief. "It's all right. He's only shot in the right arm. He's fainted from loss of blood. Come and give me a hand with him." There was a pounding on the library door. Voices were heard, asking, explaining, and demanding. Lorraine looked doubtfully at it.
"No hurry," said Battle. "We'll let them in presently. You come and give me a hand." Lorraine came obediently. The superintendent had produced a large, clean pocket handkerchief and was neatly bandaging the wounded man's arm. Lorraine helped him. "He'll be all right," said the superintendent. "Don't you worry. These young fellows have as many lives as cats. It wasn't just the loss of blood that knocked him out, either. He must have hit his head on the floor as he fell." Outside, the knocking on the door had become tremendous. The voice of George Lomax, furiously raised, came loud and distinct. "Who is in there? Open the door at once!" Superintendent Battle sighed. "I suppose we shall have to," he said. "A pity." His eyes darted around, taking in the scene. An automatic lay by Jimmy's side. The superintendent picked it up gently, holding it very delicately, and examined it. He grunted and laid it on the table. Then he stepped across and unlocked the door. Several people fell into the room. Nearly everybody said something at the same minute. George Lomax, stuttering with words that refused to come out clearly, exclaimed, The meaning of this. Ah, it's you, Superintendent. What's happened? I say, what has happened?" Bill Eversley said, "My God, old Jimmy," and stared at the limp figure on the ground. Lady Coote, clad in a magnificent purple dressing gown, cried out, "The poor boy," and swept past Superintendent Battle to bend over the lying Jimmy in a motherly fashion. Bundle said, "Lorraine." Herr Eberhard said, "Gott im Himmel," and other words of that nature. Sir Stanley Digby said, "My God, what's all this?" A housemaid said, "Look at the blood," and screamed with excitement. A footman said, "Lor!" The butler said, with a good deal more bravery in his manner than had been noticeable a few minutes earlier, "Now then, this won't do," and waved away the other servants. The efficient Mr. Rupert Bateman said to George, "Shall we get rid of some of these people, sir?" Then they all took a fresh breath. "Incredible," said George Lomax. "Battle, what has happened?" Battle gave him a look, and George's usual discretion returned. "Now then," he said, moving to the door, "everyone go back to bed, please. There's been a little accident," said Superintendent Battle easily. An accident. I shall be much obliged if everyone will go back to bed." Everyone was clearly reluctant to do so. "Lady Coote, please." "The poor boy," said Lady Coote in a motherly fashion. She rose from a kneeling position with great reluctance, and as she did so, Jimmy stirred and sat up. "Hello," he said thickly. "What's the matter?" He looked around him vacantly for a minute or two, and then intelligence returned to his eye. "Have you got him?" he demanded eagerly. "Got who?" "The man. He climbed down the ivy. I was by the window there. I grabbed him and we had a big fight." "One of those nasty, murderous cat burglars," said Lady Coote. "Poor boy." Jimmy was looking around him. "I say, I'm afraid we, have made rather a mess of things. The fellow was as strong as an ox, and we went fairly waltzing around." The condition of the room clearly proved this statement. Everything light and breakable within a range of 12 feet that could be broken had been broken. And what happened then? But Jimmy was looking around for something. "Where's Leopold, the pride of the blue-nosed automatics?" Battle indicated the pistol on the table. "Is this yours, Mr. Thesiger?" "That's right, that's little Leopold." "How many shots have been fired?" "One shot." Jimmy looked disappointed. "I'm disappointed in Leopold," he murmured. "I can't have pressed the button properly, or he'd have gone on shooting." "Who shot first?" "I did, I'm afraid," said Jimmy. "You see, the man suddenly twisted himself out of my grasp. I saw him making for the window, and I closed my finger down on Leopold and let him have it. He turned in the window and fired at me, and, well, I suppose after that I passed out." He rubbed his head rather ruefully. But Sir Stanley Digby was suddenly alert. "Climbing down the ivy, you said? My God, Lomax, you don't think they've gotten away with it." He rushed from the room. For some strange reason, nobody spoke while he was gone. In a few minutes, Sir Stanley returned. His round, chubby face was white as death. "My God, Battle," he said, "they've got it. O'Rourke is fast asleep, drugged, I think. I can't wake him. And the papers have vanished."